Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Autopsy with Maddie P. I'm your host, Maddie P. Girl. I missed you. I know you never miss me, allegedly. Since I saw you last, my wisdom was stolen from me. Still not funny? Okay. Wisdom was stolen. I have quitteth the vapeth, which is a revolution all on its own. It is day 6. I am going to do a whole episode at some point on vaping and quitting vape and the absolute difficulties of quitting vape and how impossible it is to quit the vape. Okay. I never thought I would be in a position to where the vape is out of my life. I'm telling you. And I cried my eyes out the first 2 days. I could not handle my life. Okay. Anyways, wisdom teeth are healed and I feel great. Surgery was no biggie. But I'm jumping right back on the horse, girl. Jumping right back on it. I am wearing a bikini if you see any red lines again. We are in our 4-week series, queens. How was week 2? I hope it went well. I hope you know. Inbox is open if you need me. Okay. Week 3, we're diving right on in. I don't have any warm-ups because we're doing a series, bitch. Not warming up, okay? Week 3, we were talking all about spirituality. Last week we learned, so first week was about planning things out, seeing where we lie. Second week about our humility. Third week, all spirituality. Okay. Don't be deterred. This will probably be one of the more in-depth videos I have. Okay. Because you're welcome for that. You're welcome for that also. Episode 9, we talked about spirituality. Okay. I was scared, to be honest, about who I am and what I believe for a multitude of reasons. I have grown, I'd say, like a pretty good bit since then when it comes to my spirituality and being like vulnerable about that. I constantly feel judged, and that's an issue I have. That is an issue that I have within myself because I am so self-deprecating that I don't understand how other people can't judge me. We're growing out of it. But in turn, it caused my mind to race during that episode. I want to lay this all out on the floor for you, okay? Because let me tell you, spirituality can mean religion. It can mean the universe. It can mean whatever the fuck you want it to mean. It can mean air. It can mean yourself. It can mean water. Whatever you want that to look like, it can look like. So don't go ahead and click off. We ain't here preaching. We ain't here talking about God, anyone in particular, okay? This is up to you and what you believe. And like I've shared before, what does Maddie think? Maddie thinks we're all right. I think that we're going to get to the end and we were all right. That's what Maddie thinks. So, of course, I think this will be my favorite week. Because I'm a spiritual girl. Not only that, but I loved exploring religion and exploring what I believe and put my toes in all the waters, okay? Just soaking up all the love and all the kumbaya from all the religions. So that is one of my favorite topics in life, let alone in recovery, let alone in healing. Now, as I expressed in kind of a weird way because we're just opening and I'm being odd today. Don't know why I woke up like this. It was super hard for me to grasp spirituality and grasp religion, and there was a lot of pressure on it and a lot of pressure on basically people wanting you to believe what they believe, and you're just like, wait, I don't know if I believe this. Fuck, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm lost. Okay. That was very difficult for me. I was, especially in early sobriety, this is about healing though. This is about our 4-week plan. But I will touch on like in early sobriety for me. That was everything. Finding it was so fun. And it was really, really hard, but I was growing in it daily. So like the thing about spirituality, the thing about religion, all that stuff, if you are not used to it and it's something you kind of want to put your feet into, it grows at such a rapid rate. Your relationship with whatever of your choosing that you want, it could literally be air. It could be yourself. It could be nature, whatever, grows so exponentially. And I think maybe it also has to do with like maybe the nervous system getting in order, or I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it's putting your brain in a really healthy state after so much abuse and trauma. But it grew very, very rapidly for me. To this day, I wrestle. To this day, I get confused. To this day, I'm like, am I right? Am I talking to myself? What is going on? I'm flipped out. Just yesterday, I was having a day like that. I journal about it all the time, but that's the fun. And like I'll say again, what's the fun in life? That we don't know. Imagine how boring it would be if we did. So don't let this stress you out. You're not going to hell, baby girl. You're not going to hell. Okay? I'm a good person, so I don't think whatever is up there is sending me straight to hell. And I don't think the same is for you either, okay? So a lot of you might have a relationship with God. And if you do, that's what this is about too. I'm not alienating you. That's what this week is about, your relationship with God. And when I say God, it's in every tense of any word that anyone could possibly use it, okay? I'm not just referring to a Christian God, to the Catholic God. I'm not just referring to one thing in general, okay? This is across the board. And yeah, my whole life I wrestled with this. This was not... I've always been very spiritual. We talked about that. I'm not going to go into my history, but this was not something that was overnight by any means. This was years and years of looking into myself and trying to figure out what I believe and being scared of impending doom. Honestly, I have that issue. We all know I have that issue. I'm an existential thinker, existential crisis ass bitch. It's just who I am at my core. So the conflict of hell and heaven and death and all these things reign true in my soul in such a deep and terrifying way. Also, in turn, a very lovely and beautiful way because of that. I have grown out of some of the deep scariness of choosing what I believe. And I will say for the first time in my life, my faith cannot be shaken on what I am right now. I'm just really connected and I'm really spiritual, girl. I'm just so aligned. So, yeah. And I think if you have a relationship with God, Jesus, that is absolutely beautiful as well. And I want you to pursue that you can replace some words, that's what this is about. And I think that your relationship with God is fantastic. I always wish I could have one. I don't know if I should leave that in or not. It's hard for me to be honest about what I believe, guys. It's really hard. I feel, and I said this before, this might be controversial for me to say in a way. I don't know if it is, but honestly, not really being a Christian in the South is kind of like being gay. I have to hide it in a lot of ways. And it's been painful for me for a long time. And I still am kind of stuck in that state. So the main thing, getting sober, going into all of this, what I heard and what I took away when I didn't understand where I lied, I didn't understand if I had a relationship with God, if I had a relationship with spirituality, with myself, I didn't understand, But one thing I heard that stuck to me and I think carried me so far was just to remain simply open-minded in the facet of spirituality. Across the board. Leave the door open, remain vigilant, remain connected, and remain open-minded. Not only for self, but to connect with others. Because I think sometimes when we have a weird thing about religion, we think about religion a certain way, it puts a big wall up between us and the next person, when in fact their relationship, what they feel in their chest is the exact same, just towards something else, which is why I think we're all right. But it creates, it alienates us, and it creates a lot of divides in life and in society and in each other that I hate to see. And I think if we were just open-minded and understood that everyone's brain is different and that there's so many options when it comes to death, we can shop around, girl. We got so many options for afterlife, okay? So I think that's part of the fun about it. I had to learn to not be mad at people that had God because I was jealous. I don't know if anyone parts with that as well, but that was something that I had to go through because I used to have a very strong relationship with what I consider to be the Christian God when I was younger. I have a similar relationship now to my higher power, and it's just a little more open. It's just not the same as Christianity, okay? But I love that you have God. I'll say for the 5th time. I love that for you. While doing this discovery too, I literally used to cry because I thought I was going to hell. In adulthood. This was a year ago. In adulthood, I thought this. As a child, I believed in God. I thought I was going to heaven immediately, okay? As an adult, literally crying over it. And this podcast isn't about religion. We're not diving into philosophy and religion and all these things. These are just thoughts and what I went through while growing in my spirituality and growing into what I think week 3 will present you with. And one of those things was being really scared of hell. We've talked about it before. We've talked about how I've been scared of hell and scared of eternal damnation for my entire life. And I think that might be something that's brainwashed kind of into me a little bit. And just something that sticks to me. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong about everything and I am going to hell. I'm going to get myself in trouble. Every time I go to talk about spirituality, it's so hard. And I just feel like I'm getting myself in trouble. And it's hard for me to be honest in that. I have to hide, I feel like, and it's so weird. Like, I feel like it's easier for me to talk about being bi than it is spirituality. Which is funny because so much of my life revolves around spirituality, But guess what? Me being scared of hell, me being scared of eternal damnation, all this shit. Life is about life, babe. Life ain't about hell. Life ain't about following rules and all this shit. Not really though, right? Life is about life. We're learning that these first 2 weeks. Life is about each other, fun, laughter, smiles, gigs, all that shits. Okay. And that's where our focus is pivoting in these 4 weeks. And that allows a little less room for self-observation, especially when it comes to spirituality, because we all think we're wrong or right at the same time. And we're glued to these philosophies that we learned either way long ago or instilled in ourselves that may bring a little confusion and pain now. It's okay to question where you are in your relationship. It's okay to step out of line. It's okay to explore. And it's okay to be angry. It's okay to feel as you're going through this. We all have a very complicated relationship. I wouldn't say all of us, but a lot of us have a very complicated relationship with that. The other thing is, if you're on the other hand and you kind of don't experience much, it is okay to not have your God. It is okay to not fit in. It is okay to not pray to something. All of that is okay. You don't have to believe in anything and still have a beautiful, happy, healthy life. That's why we're going to focus on Mother Nature. We're going to focus on air. We're going to focus on trees and focus on life. You don't have to have something. Don't feel like you do, and don't feel like you have to fit in to other people saying that shit. It's not fair. I lived that way for a long time, and it's so ostracizing. And I wonder, statistically speaking, how many people really don't believe in God and don't have a religion that they kind of partake in. And when I realized that it might not be that many people and I might be kind of alone in that, because for some reason my brain pictures like statistics as rooms and like as groups of people. So like if I'm at work and there's 200 people there, then 2 of those 200 have osteoporosis. It's so weird. Like, that's just a random one. But, like, that's how I view life. And I'm like, what percentile am I in certain things? Because it shows me where I need to lean into, like, human shit and, like, be more open-minded and be able to be, like, cognizant, that's the word, on different human behaviors I don't partake in, I don't understand, or thought processes, because I could be way more isolated and alone than I think, statistically, like, literally speaking. Did that make sense? Was that weird? Don't know. It's the way my brain operates, okay? And I recognize that with religion too. I'm in the South. So like someone could be watching this elsewhere and be like, girl, not a lot of us believe in God, okay? Like this is not common. Here it feels that way. And it feels like I'm very, very small percentage and that I need to keep my mind open and understanding that verbiage wise too. I had to flip a lot of words on their head. I had to, when people say God, I fill that with my own version of God. When they're showing me a verse, I still can take from that. I go to church, I can sit in a congregation and still take away all of these beautiful things that people that have the same relationship as a Christian God. Okay, I can equate my life to such. I can master manipulate the situation so that I fit in and that I am cohesively a part of all of this because I want to be, because I choose to be, because I need to be, because connection will always be the opposite of addiction, always. And that was hard for me. I get emotional talking about it. I get emotional talking about everything. I really do. I truly do. Especially since the vape is gone. It's just like, I just can't stop crying, honestly. It's the vape. I can't stop crying. So, and it can all start with silence. Silence in itself can be spirituality to you. And I think that's what people get confused, especially when it comes to meditation, comes to spirituality, even religion, all of that. They don't hear or see anything. They're not experiencing these things that other people say they're experiencing in religion. And that was something for myself. And I had to start with just silence with spirituality. That alone. Very human, very real. We got proof that silence works on brain and on your mental health, your chemistry inside. That silence and solitude. You guys know how I feel about silence and solitude. Beautiful. The best thing in the whole world. We need it. And if you don't have anything, that's a great basis for spirituality. Also, mind you, obviously, you're grown, so you should know this, that religion and spirituality are two separate things. Here's something fun. If you have a relationship with God, Christian God, or any type of religion, okay, like organized group religion, I want you to take the time to focus on spirituality. So yes, I want you to focus on your relationship with your God. I want you to build that. I want you to be honest, vulnerable, get deep into your feelings and your emotions and maybe your text, whatever you look at, your Bible, whatever you do. That's great. And I want you to continue with that. But it's different than spirituality. And maybe this is a taste of the first taste of what spirituality is like for you, and understanding the difference in that in religion and in yourself and in your personal relationship. And we all need spirituality to grow, especially healing and especially away from drugs and alcohol, because we have to supply ourselves with these things like joy and peace and serenity. We have to supply that now. We don't get that elsewhere. And we need a source of energy within us that can supply that can withstand the test of time when it comes to all of that. And, starting with spirituality is a good basis. And it's not necessarily about having someone to pray to. It's about being conscious about your energy, what you put into the world, and what you feel. Yeah. And I think, like, for me as a sober person, like, when I got sober, it was like I was more of a drunk, because I'm crazy and this is who I am naturally. And that's a beautiful part of me. I am theatrical and like animated and a little wonky. Okay. I love that about myself. And something about that was very spiritual to me, and looking at the clouds in a certain way and the sky in a certain way. And it connected me and made me feel peace, to just be alive and to see things out of a sober vision, and realize that, like, I am indeed high, like I am indeed crazy, and that's a great feeling to have. I don't know if that relates to anything at all that I was just talking about, but whatever. From the very, very beginning, I don't want to talk about it again. This was started about meditation. And sobriety for me was started through meditation. It was started through peace. It was started through spirituality. Every single day, I went to that damn fuck ass pool at my house that all them kids are pissing in. Yes. That fuck ass pool. And I would sit there and I would journal and meditate until I felt something. I'd sit in silence until I felt something. Like I've talked about, the physiological things that occur in us in times of prayer and times of meditation and times of peace are essential to our nervous system, essential to our being and to our healing. In some ways that could have been repetition, but I will also, hopefully by the end of this, open your mind to, for anyone that does have a relationship, that meditation is indeed something that you can adhere to and something that you belong in your faith. Okay, this is not going against anything in the Bible. I will talk about chakras as well. That's for my spiritual girls. And, I think chakras might be more controversial when it comes to like Christianity and stuff. I'm not sure if it is, because I think it's like based in Buddhism a little bit. And I gather stuff from across the board. I do what works for me and what works with this brain, because she's crazy. And that's how I operate. I take pieces from everywhere, because that's just who I am. And that's what works for me personally. You can do the same. If you're similar to me and you just want to take bits and pieces, you can do that. But meditation is not something that's controversial. This is alone, quiet time with God, where you can awaken your insides and really be there within yourself. Okay. And so that's what I did to build. Started on that front. So much silence, so much quiet contemplation. Now, jumping into week 3, finally, damn. Yeah, so basically, don't have to believe in anything if you don't want to, okay? Okay, girl. You do you, honestly, you do you. And I think I just grew up in the South, so I am severely scarred. I'm not even scarred by God. I really, truly am not. I'm not. I am just scarred by judgment, I think, and the whole piece around it, and I'm weird because of it when it comes to chatting about it, clearly. And I always plan that when we talk about it, it's going to be great and I'm going to get everything out, and then I get nervous and I overthink and I overtalk, and that's what's happening again. It's just the way it is, okay? Week 3, the wound is the place where the light enters you. Rumi said that. It's very sweet to me. And as a broken girl, I need to hear that a lot. I love, like, as a broken girl, I do love quotes about like the wounded places and like the broken heart and like light being made out of dark and all of those things, because that's what happened to me internally, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Something I hope I never give up for the world. And Week three is about connection. Regardless your background, we reach for the other side. We find nature nurtures our soul and connects us with our spirit. We strive for peace and grounding, learning the importance of remaining spiritually fit. So true, girl. It's facts. And then week 3 teaches us the importance of spirituality, whether that involves diving into already existing relationship or learning to love the trees. This week, meditation prompts accompany our question list. Nature calls us to review our souls and collect peace. We think we are whole. We are surely mistaken. In a world gone fast, we will require a little grounding. And that's the issue. The world has gone so fast. So if this ends up being that you just get a little fucking peace by the end of it, you don't have to know all the answers. You don't have to know everything, but you do need peace and you do need solitude. Say that again. And then also, so like I said with meditation, so the meditations on here can be found on YouTube. My favorite is the Great Meditation channel. If you meditate, you probably know about it. It's like the very first one when you look up on YouTube meditation. It's just called the Great Meditation. And those are 10 minutes, guys. These are 10 minutes. Sometimes I do a 30 minutes. Sometimes I do an hour. This morning I did 10 minutes. Most of the time it's just 10 minutes, especially when it comes to the chakra ones. So you don't have to take a huge part of your day. This is 10 minutes, okay? And this is what caused me to make this, okay? This is what caused me to make this 4-week plan, was centered around the chakras and stuff, because I remember aligning my life and my first week of aligning it around chakras and around peace and meditation and all of that. And that was the most transformative week of, honestly, like maybe my life. And I'm not being exaggerative, because I will look back at this as the most insane milestones, and I will be so proud of myself for years to come for this. And that week is when I still look back on and I go, thank you. Like the other day, like I have moments where I look in the mirror and I'll be getting dressed and I'm just like, oh my God, hey girl, like, thank you. Proud of you. And yesterday I had one where I was like tearing up a little bit because I was like, fucking like, thank you so much for taking the chance on yourself. Thank you so much for doing that. And that week when I look back feels like that. And that's the reason I made these 4 weeks, is because I made that plan for myself and I knew that maybe other girls would find the same peace in that. If you're not sure about spirituality, don't worry. Episode 9 on my podcast discussed some parts of spirituality, and we will have another episode shortly following our series. You don't have to use chakras. I've just found great balance in maintaining mine. Again, I think it's physiological too when it comes to chakras. I'm not here to like tell you what's right and wrong in your rule book of your God and stuff. But to me, they're very purely like, I can feel them and they're very real to me. And I think it's more of like a physiological thing. I think energy is real. Energy cannot die, and energy exists within our body. It's very simple. And we have like areas that it exists, I don't think there's any harm in partaking in that. If there is, these are also accompanied by prayer. So I pray. The power of prayer will never be lost on me. Y'all know this. I pray constantly, feverishly, until I'm exhausted, until I'm black and blue, because otherwise I worry. Whether it works or not, pray more, worry less, period. And that's how I have to operate. And that's me as a spiritual girl. So these are chakras and also prayer. If you don't want to use the chakras, focus on the prayer. You don't want to use the prayer, focus on the chakras, okay? So that you can, whoever you are, you can walk in both lights, okay? Without feeling like you're doing an injustice to whatever you believe in. Because I know what it's like, and I don't want you to feel like you're idolizing anyone or anything like that. I want you to feel whole in your relationship with Jesus and feel clean and honest in that, if that's what you're choosing. I don't want any of this to come off the wrong way and be too human, too connected to earth. Remain in Jesus, and what you feel your rules should look like, keep that there, no matter what your God is. Don't shake on that, okay? This is just built for spiritual girls, because that's who I am, as a spiritual girl. Monday. Do I feel regulated and calm, or is it hard for me to find peace? And then you'll do a crown chakra, which is the top of your head, which is communication, they say, with like the universe. And then the prayer will be based in connection with your God or with your universe. And when I say prayer based, you come up with this prayer. You can Google some if you want. You can TikTok it. You can chakra it out. You can meditate it out. Whatever you want to do. But yeah, feeling regulated and calm is not something that I experienced prior to sobriety. Like pretty much, unless I was like drugged. You know what I mean? Like not in a way of spiritual, sober peace. If I was experiencing that, I was probably like half a bar deep, like Um, so yeah. Tuesday. Spend 30 minutes grounding in nature. No shoes is encouraged in this. Okay. 30 minutes, girls. I don't know. I don't care if you walk around, if you lay and look at the sky, whatever you want to do with that. This day we'll do a third eye meditation, which is my favorite of all time. Connection, same thing. And then prayer based in clarity. Asking for clarity, asking for guidance, asking for these things. Okay. These are things we ask for, guys. And I had a problem. I didn't realize, and I think maybe I've talked about it, but I have to ask for these things. I ask for clarity. I ask for connection. I ask for peace. I ask for mindfulness and balance. I ask to be guided in the right direction. I ask that my life not be of mine, but of whatever is guiding me, whatever that looks like. And maybe it's that I just didn't commit to a certain college, like I didn't put that hat on. And maybe it is that it's Jesus. You know what I mean? Not to like shit on myself in any way. That's hard to articulate. So I'm just leaving that there. But these are things I ask for. Whether they work or not, I ask to be filled with the Spirit. I ask that my life is of others, of peace, and what is 100 organically % meant to happen to me in my life at that time. Yeah. Wednesday. Does my relationship to spirituality require more? Am I being honest in my beliefs? Now, what I mean by am I being honest in my beliefs is, am I following a religion, following something that I kind of don't believe in or that I secretly have questioned for a very long time and I need to dive into? Whether that means I dive into it and I then gain another closeness with that same creator and that same religion, or it means, wait, I've been ignoring this. I don't trust this. I need to go explore elsewhere and I need the power to do that. I don't need to be afraid. And guys, guidance, peace, all this stuff, you can ask of the trees, you can ask of air, you can ask of nature. It doesn't have to be a God. You can look up at the sky and just be like, can you please guide me in the right direction? Bring me what is meant to be here. Show me what I'm meant to believe in. Show me what I'm meant to like face in this life. And am I being honest in that? And then, does my relationship to spirituality require more? And that's my relationship to spirituality. When you go outside, do you feel connected with the sun and with the earth? Is it natural for you to lay in that grass? Is it natural to be barefoot? Or are you like, I'm going to step on a bug? Gross. This is disgusting. And like, when you sit still, are you filled with peace? Are you filled with angst? What are you filled with when you're still? That is a map, and that is a way for you to see where to head in your spirituality. If you're filled with angst when you're still and when you're quiet and you're asking for more, when you're in quiet contemplation, you are clogged. There's some shit going on. And nothing's wrong with that. We all face that. I face that from time to time too. But that just means our relationship is going to require more. That's our spirituality relationship. You can also examine your relationship with God or whatever you partake in. And then we would do a throat chakra meditation and a prayer in honesty. Throat chakra goes with honesty. And each day too with these chakras, what I did when I did this on my own was I ate foods associated with my chakras. I did activities associated. You can just Google it. Like Google crown chakra. What should I eat? What activities are good for crown chakra? My whole day was around these chakras, not just in the meditation. Cleansing of these chakras every day. And I'm not even to sound like a shaman. It works for me to unblock this, whether it's physiological, whether it is real or not. That energy does exist in me. I can feel it, and I can feel it being clean, and I can feel myself like just open, like not so clogged with all this human bullshit that I carry around, the stuff that I choose to take from life that no one assigned me with, that I take home. And we all have some. There's nothing wrong with it. We all have stuff that we take home. And prayer and honesty. And then Thursday, how can I become more open? We already discussed a little bit at the beginning what openness, I mean by that, what it looks like. In what ways are you closed off from the world and or others? A lot of us are scarred by religion or scarred by spirituality, scarred by all this stuff. Well, you're not scarred by spirituality, probably. You just think you are when you're scarred by religion. Because spirituality is indeed about oneself. It is indeed about the higher version, the best version of yourself is what that's about. And trying to become aligned with her because she can bring you the world. She really can. And that's why I love when people tell me that I glow. And I think I've talked about it a million times. And I'm like, yes, girl, that glow is from within. Like, I worked for that shit. I worked to be open. I worked to be like cognizant. I worked to like just be filled with peace and sanity and to be happy and to be connected. And that is something, this glow, the smile, the way I look at life is a result of tons of work and comes from very, very deep within my gut. That's where this comes from. And then that will be the heart chakra meditation and a prayer and mindfulness. And Friday, do I feel unsure of who I am? Is trusting self hard? This kind of goes with, am I being honest in my beliefs in a way? And you know how to answer that. I won't go into it. You know how to answer that. I was completely unsure of who I was. I could not trust myself in a million degrees of the word. So don't feel bad in that. It doesn't take away from who you are. It's just a current state of mind, and we can fix these things. That day will be a solar plexus meditation and then a prayer in balance if you're choosing to pray. Saturday, where am I rigid and stuck in my ways? That'll be a sacral chakra meditation and a prayer in gratefulness. This can mean where am I rigid across the board. This doesn't have to be just spiritual based. Rigid in all aspects. We are clenched. This is about the nervous system in some ways and about like physiologically. If I say that word one more fucking time, what's happening to us? Like this, we are wound up. We are stressed out. What happens to us if we get stressed out? We get autoimmune diseases. We get wrinkles. We get angry. We hate life. We drink. We take crack. We do coke. Like, that's what happens as a result of being stressed and being stuck. Nothing good comes of continuing to work past exhaustion, past all of that. We are clogged the fuck up. So where are you rigid? Where are you stuck in your ways? And then Sunday, in what ways have I abandoned self? And that'll be a root chakra meditation. And this day I want you to do an intuitive prayer. It's Sunday. So maybe you go to a service, and maybe if you're somebody who, believes and you don't often go to church, maybe it's a good day to just go give it a shot. Maybe you'll hear what you need to hear. If you're not religious, maybe it's a good day to go out and sit on the beach, go read a book, have a really long root chakra meditation that day, or just a root chakra meditation and then a long one in general, a really long walk, your own version of Sabbath, your own version of prayer and of church that day. And maybe you hear something in the sermon, or you hear something in the air if that's where you are. And you're like, this is intuitive. There's something rising in me. And this is where we start to listen to ourselves. When we're kind of getting balanced, we're unwinding, we're getting those chakras a little loose. We're getting like our body loose, our energy flowing in a correct way that's cohesive. We can intuitively start to hear the calls of the wind. Like these, for me, would be like, things that were wrong with me, this is how they arose. Things that were really hurting me that we can't quite reach. When we talk about that, there's so many we can't reach. It's just hard. It's in our subconscious, but it still brings us a huge amount of pain. These are when intuitive things start to happen. So Sunday is a good day to start maybe practicing intuitive prayer and practicing listening. And maybe the silence is starting to have a little noise now. And that's a beautiful thing. And I hope that starts to happen for you. And I've talked about it too. This is a piece of my life alcohol 100% completely robbed of me. Completely. I was bare boned in spirituality. Completely bare boned. So me sitting here is a result of only 9 months of work. And that's where I am right now. Only 9 months. It does not take long. This shit blasts off. Your relationship with whatever you think or whatever, blast the absolute fuck off. And then we'll do reflection. So we'll have 1 hour meditation or prayer uninterrupted. This may be spent giving thanks, asking questions, or just sitting in peace, whatever you want it to look like. And then write a letter to your lineage. Include the things that feel connected to you in your blood. So my first time kind of doing this, and this was something that intuitively came as a call while I was walking one day. And I had just spent the week I had a hard week, and I spent the week in a lot of prayer and in a lot of like just contemplation and stuff, and trying to fill myself with like that spirit and that peace. And I was clogged. And I was I was at like a park over here by my house with my dog, and something just like hit me, and I was just like filled with the ancient side of life. And I don't know what hit me that day. I don't know if I called upon like an ancestor or called upon like someone that was on that land a long time ago, or what I did. But it struck me in a way that made me feel so connected to my lineage and connected to like all facets of life. And I could picture that while I was sitting there and I was writing about it. And I remember just being like, wow, like I am so not of me. Like there's so much more. Like, why am I so upset? Like there's so much more to this life, so much more than me. And I, kept diving into that relationship, into that weird feeling of some lineage or something being there. And I kept asking for answers. And I'm like, who are you? What is this? I sound crazy, and that's okay if I do. And someone who I won't reveal on my mother's side of her family kept popping up. This is somebody who I never knew. This person was dead before I was, like a good bit before I was born. I don't know this person, and I think it was them. I still think that person is there. I think that person watches over me. And that is something that came through talking about my lineage and writing about it and asking anything that needs to guide me and fill me to be there. And I think in some ways that person is guiding and protecting me, because I've talked about there are so many accounts that I should be dead a lot. I have escaped death or even like jail, which is like kind of synonymous, like jail for a long time. And some of those things I've escaped, and there's a reason for that. There's a reason that I'm here today, and there's a reason for me to stay sober. And something on the other side is protecting me. And I know that 100% without a shadow of a doubt. And I mean, yeah, of course, something protecting me is in like my relationship with my higher power and with the universe, but also like an individual, somebody who has walked here before, paved the way for me and is watching me and is rooting for me. And that's odd, but that's just an example of what I say, write a letter to your lineage. And this can just be your bloodline, what you want to break, what cycles you want to break, what your hope is for your family, for your generations. What are things that you feel that you inherited from other past people that are bad, that hurt, that you don't want your kids to have, or that you're so thankful for. You're thankful for this. You love this thing. You hope your children are past this. Those are examples. It's odd, but this spiritually does a lot for me in particular. I'm a nostalgic person too. I just understand the importance of elders as well, and of like, I ain't shit. Okay. And that's important for me to have in my mind. And there's a lot of places that I go purposefully to feel that connection with my lineage and to feel that connection with, with my family and shit. And then write about where you stand in your faiths. How can you make a plan to stay connected in the future? What have you learned during this time? What have you learned during this week? Where do you stand? And then what do you want to take away? Like, how moving forward can you stay in that peace? Can you stay connected? Because you're going to have, every day might not be perfect. You're going to have, if you follow this, you will have at least one day where you are filled and you're like, wow, I feel great. And how can we stay the closest to that? Because in some ways it can be a high and we don't necessarily always get back to it. But how do we stay in that state? And that is kind of a huge driving factor of a lot of my life, because it brings me peace as a crazy person. And I need that. I need that severely in my life. And then review what life has been like without alcohol. Did it play a role in your connection? I told you 1,000,001 ways why alcohol just abandoned me on the side of the road, empty, without anything, without any type of guide, anything to follow. What role did it play? And I want you to dive into that and observe that. When we talked about alcohol in its past tense for the other 2 weeks, we talked about it in a way that was light. We didn't recount the horrors of the history we had been through. We did enough so that we can take accountability and move forward, not to drag us back. This, I want you to go into detail. It is specifically about alcohol and your connection to the spirit, whatever the spirit means to you, whatever that means. How are those two linked in a deep way? And talk about it deeply. And really observe the role in that. And I think once you recognize how much it stands in the way, it helps move forward with your alcohol consumption and with your use, and observe like where you really stand. It's a good monitor of how bad you're drinking. You know, like if you choose to go back to drinking after this and you feel like you've gotten your detox and you're good and you can drink lightly and stuff, I think it's a good, if you have a good spirit, like if you're spiritually fit and how important that is, it is such a good radar of if you're drinking too much again, or if you're struggling, if you need help, what's going on. When that starts to dissipate, you're like, oh shit, I'm getting a little far. All right, we need to stop drinking a little bit or do whatever we need to do to get back to that place. And constantly fighting for that keeps you on the better side and the like mentally healthy side of life. If you're fighting for that and you're fighting to stay spiritually fit, only good can come from that. And it is of utmost importance 100% in alcoholism and in the rooms. People attribute their life to God, and being sober, everything they are to this. And I didn't have God for a while, so I don't necessarily attribute, a lot of mine came from within, and I had that relationship later. But a lot of people, that's what saved them completely. And I wish my brain had operated like that, because I feel like it might have been easier for me, but it just didn't. And I had to be open, and I had to work with myself and understand that, you know, maybe that would come, and to just remain hopeful that I would find a relationship one day like these people, and that like it could just be about one thing, you know? And, you know, I still have times where it's just like absolutely radio silent when I call. Well, actually, it always is radio silent. I don't hear a God. I don't get an answer. It's silent. It's me alone in my thoughts and in my spirit. I don't expect someone to pick up the phone. I don't expect somebody to come help me. I hold hope. And this is why I self-regulate. This is why I can, is through meditation and through my spirituality. And that's really important in healing. Very important. It's self-regulating, obviously. This is why I can do it. Through breath work, through calming down, this is where I get my pause that we talked about last week that we're kind of gaining with each other. And the pause of life. And that's how I have that. And it all started too with me just asking for strength from the other side. That was my very, very, very first request was constant. Please give me strength. I need strength. If you're there, I need strength over and over and over. I am so strong now. I am ridiculously strong. And yeah, toot my own horn. But when it comes to things, and my resilience and stuff in life, and that was a foundation for me, was strength. And that's where it started. And now that you're building all this, utilize your relationship in every facet of your life. Carry that shit over everywhere. The universe is not on a budget. Your God is not on a budget. Ask and you will receive, period. And you know, that's like a Christian saying, but ask. And, I utilize that relationship in all my facets, you know? And like even yesterday I pulled into work after fucking people just driving like nutcases. And I'm like, you gotta help me. Literally, I said before I got in the car, I said, before I smack a bitch from not having my vape for real, before I smack a bitch, I need you to feel me. Feel me. Calm me down. Remind me I ain't shit and that it's all straight and that people are good and that we're fine. That was me calling upon my spirituality, calling upon my relationship with my higher power, saying, feel me, babes, I can't do this alone. I'm going to cunt out right now. I'm going to cunt the fuck out if you don't help me. So, and maybe that's a threat. Maybe it worked. But that's what it is. Like when I start panicking, when I start freaking out, I ask, I utilize my relationship. I don't feel alone anymore. And that does take some practice of meditating, of using that space. But when I'm panicked, what do? I turn to my faith. I turn to my higher power. I turn to that thing and I say, help me girl. Hallelujah. You know, and I move on with my life. And again, this could all be placebo. This could all be me talking to myself. Who knows? I don't care. It works. I'm not questioning that shit, period. And it could be Mother Nature on her own. It could be me calling upon my own strength. And it could be that my strength all of a sudden looks like a whole other being that I made up. Sorry. I'm tired of hiding. That's what I think. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry if that in any way offends you. Yeah, I used to think too, like I was too bad to dive into my relationship. And maybe I think a lot of people might think that also about especially if you follow a Christian God. I used to think I was too bad. And then also in spirituality too, like I'm too bad to just like casually love nature. You know, like I'm just like bad. Why would I casually be like, but that's not real. You can dive into it at whatever facet you're at, no matter who you are. It isn't too bad, all this stuff. This relationship follows us and it ebbs and flows just like everything else in our life. We don't have to be here to have a relationship with anything. We can be here, we can be here, we can be here, we can be here, we can be in hell at the floor, okay? To still obtain that relationship. This is strange too, but so like I have obviously a deep connection to prayer, and I always will. And this is an example of me working with my brain, okay? So when I pray, oftentimes I find myself saying Lord or Amen. It stuck with me from being a child, I think, and it just stayed. And that's just something that like stayed. Like I don't mean to do it, it just happens. And I used to be like, it would turn me off completely if I would accidentally do that. I'd be like, ew, what am I doing? Like, what the fuck am I doing right now? Like, this is not real. Like, what am I doing? This is too much. But it just naturally, that's what happened when I pray, because that was what I did when I was little. And like understanding that it's okay. And I guess it's just an example of the oddness of spirituality and religion, of like finding the path, and that like I have to be gentle in that, and I don't need to like freak out if I accidentally say Lord or Amen, even though I don't really believe in God, you know? And it's just an example of how complicated these relationships can be. But like I said, prayer is something that we should never get away from, no matter who we are. It's the fuel of life in my mind. And even in a way that is just simply me reining it in cognitively and finding peace and finding a moment. Either way, that is a huge basis of what my life needs to look like, let alone the power that I think does come from prayer, which is a form of manifestation, and it's a tool in itself. And we have episodes on that. Whenever I was struggling too with like my defects, like we talked about in week 1 and 2, and my progress on that, and the bad parts of me, when I got stuck and I got anxious and confused on what to do, and I'm like, oh, this is hard, like I don't know, I can't like move forward, I just can't stop judging, I just can't stop doing whatever. This is when I lean on my higher power, on my spirituality too, in self-betterment, and like in the healing process of becoming a better person and reframing my perspective on things. That's where I ask, like I'm doing as much as I can in real life right now, trying, but my brain's working against me, and it's a muscle, and I'm trying to reprogram, I'm trying to figure it out, but it's hard. When I need that extra help, that's where I go. Please take this lying away from me. Take my deceit away, take my judgment away, and continuously asking for that shit, whether it works or not. And either way, I am pointed in the right direction from there, because I am silent and I am in one cohesive piece. I am one Maddee asking for one thing in a certain direction. And either way, when I open my eyes, my brain is going to naturally align into where the place is that I need to go. I'm like, okay, moving forward, now we're on the second step of this. Okay, maybe now I can start to do this with my mind. Maybe I can regulate the way I talk to this person for just a second. You know, it's just pointing us in that right direction. And I think that's why we can't find the answers when it comes to like our drinking, when it comes to these very real life things, when it comes to how we feel about ourselves, because it is all within. And when it is blocked, we're not going to find these very, very deep questions. These deep answers don't exist in reality. They don't exist in human life. They exist inside your soul and inside your brain and inside your stomach. That's where some of the answers to our really broken hearts lie, and how we treat others and stuff. Other answers you might be able to find on earth, we can find in each other, you know, but yeah, I just feel like that's why spirituality, I think, deserves its own week. Honestly, that right there, that's right. That's why spirituality deserves its own week, because the answers are within. And if you don't have within, you have no fucking compass whatsoever. You got no gut. You got no backbone. And yeah, I don't know if you guys find it strange when I list air, but like, when I first got sober, that's what I believed in. I believed in air. I believed in the rooms. I believed in other people. Like seriously, it was shit that was that simple. Like the air breathing, like literally like the atoms in the air right now. I trusted it. I don't know how to describe that, but I trusted it to bring me life, right? That's what his job was, to fill my lungs, to bring me life. I can believe in that. I don't know if I sound crazy for that, but that's something good that I can believe in. And that's something that I can breathe in, breathe out, that is real, and that regulates me. It keeps me here. My breath work, staying calm. And there's a beauty in that. And I don't know if people got confused when I keep listing air and they're like, what the fuck? But that's kind of what I mean. And I just structure naturally around science. That's how my brain works. So in healing and in these spiritual things, that's why I list air. That's why I list like literally energy. Is just because I'm based in that. And I don't think there's anything wrong in being based in science, even if you have a relationship with God. Yeah, because I guess like my healings feel, for me, are based in logic. Like, especially when I first got sober, I'm not about to just like go do random shit that like people say to do because they're religious and whatnot. Like, it needed to be based like very real and something that made sense to me and like was like scientifically proven and like logical and not so fairy tale. Now I get like a little more fairy with shit sometimes, and like you guys know I'm like a little fairy with my shit, but like it started with like, seriously, I did a lot of cleaning in rivers. So I went on a retreat one time too, and I had like an alone moment in this river where I did like a deep cleansing, and I walked away just like feeling very clean. I let the water wash over me, and I let it have like a spiritual significance to me and like charge me, the water, like very clean river water. And then also like grounding my feet, literally vitamin D, taking in the sun, grounding my feet, getting ions out of the earth. Is that the right word? You know what I mean? Like those are logical things that I can go along with, that no matter what, are at least at minimum boosting my mental health. I think that's an example of like, you can hybrid this, okay? Like that's your business. You can hybrid. If you want to do some prayer and do some grounding, but you aren't sure, like you're like, wait, okay, it's starting to feel a little too much. Like I'd like this to get back to a little more logical, or I'd like a little more spirituality behind this. I'd like a little more relationship based behind this. I'd like to get like a little more crazy with my thinking. You can choose. Like that's what the thing about spirituality is. There is no right answer. There is no certain path. The answer, the compass is within of what you need to follow and what works for your spirituality and for your divine being. And for me, that's very nature-based. Like we talked about, like almost 100% nature-based. So then we'll have media. The world is full of magic things, patiently waiting for our senses to grow sharper. YB Wheat said that. That is so cool. And then also, okay, so like if you are religious, and I did this as a non-religious person, the book of Psalms, in the Bible, a lot of it, like pick and choose. Some of it is like very Jesus based, but like there's some that like a person could have just written that and you wouldn't know. It's like a poetry book in a lot of ways, but I wanted to put something for the religious girls really on here. So they didn't feel like, you know, you're idolizing something else or whatever that is. So the book of Psalms is a really good one to follow if you're religious and you want a little extra kind of like literature and in your Bible kind ofness with stuff. I definitely would focus on the book of Psalms this week. And then The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer. It's a great one. And then The Courage to be Disliked by Japanese names. And then the I Am documentary. Oh my God, the I Am documentary is so fucking good. I need to rewatch that, honestly. Oh my God. Well, that's week 3, you guys. And I hope you're not deterred. I hope that this kind of helped you feel more at ease and find your compass and less so rigid. So rigid in our thinking, so rigid in our ways. We want to become water. We want to become malleable. Like that's the goal. We want to be more liquid with who we are on the inside. More liquid, more open, to let go of the past, to let go of these things. We do that through peace. We do that through instilling things inside of us that heal us from the inside out. And I said that last episode, but that's the goal. We're instilling these little things that open up and they start to heal us deeply from the inside out. So any questions, my inbox is open and I love you guys. Stay in prayer, stay in meditation, and stay in whatever you think is meant for you. Follow your compass and your gut. Love you guys. See you next week. Bye.